Hello, everybody. This is Bina and Joan Claire, and I'm excited to be here with her because what this brings up as being an entrepreneur is how motherhood has affected us with business, but also how we, as being a mother, how we transitioned into both of us from very well professional living careers to now being an entrepreneur. So we were having a conversation. What is the biggest thing for us, or what do you notice as being a mom and being an entrepreneur? How is that transition for you?
I was already working part-time when I became an entrepreneur. I started a Facebook group 3 years ago for women with autoimmune challenges. That's how I became a coach. I have this long journey of dealing with autoimmune conditions, and personal development helped a ton. How can I share that with other women and moms out there? So I was already a stay-at-home mom when I entered entrepreneurship. So it wasn't like a stark cutting off from like full-time professional to becoming an entrepreneur. Whereas for you, I think it was more of I'm in the hospital day in and day out. And then, so yours was a lot more of a stark transition. Mine was more of working part-time.
Mine was a little bit more cutthroat, a little bit more of like, I knew what I wanted to do because as everybody knows, I have 3 children with special needs. So I knew I wanted to help the parents with special needs, the companies with having the resources for it. All right, this is what I'm doing. Here we go. So it's good to hear other perspectives because there's a lot of moms out there that think they can't do this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So whether you're mostly at home already, or you're working outside a lot, or you're working full time from home, there's obviously some kind of transition. But for me, actually, Bina, I don't feel like it's been like more challenging being an entrepreneur versus being an attorney or whatever. Like, if anything, because I was practicing full time over a decade ago, working outside the office before being a mom. So it's a lot different. Yeah. But I do have some behavioral challenge in one of my children as well. That's been very taxing on our family's like emotional resources, and having to navigate that. It's been a gift, but it's also been as it is for you, right? So that whole dynamic with your husband, navigating how do we handle this, that's more of the challenge in being a parent and a co-parent with kids with challenging issues at times, right?
Yeah. The support system within your family is huge when you're an entrepreneur. There's no way I can do what I'm doing if my husband was not supporting me.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, same here with me. Like my husband, thankfully I'm married to a man that's very family centric. He's very devoted to our family. Sometimes I wish he had valued more, but he is so devoted to our family that it's such a plus. Hold up when I'm busy with other things.
Even when I coach, people ask me, how do you do this with 3 special kids? You have a special child alone comes in. They're all special, but my daughter's a diva. And the main thing with it is the number one thing I always tell entrepreneurs, if your life, personal life, is feeling complete, you have the support, whether it's paid support, husband support, grandma, grandpa, niece, nephew, whatever it is to make you feel complete in your house. Doesn't mean laundry needs to be done all the time. Doesn't mean dinner needs to be perfect. This is only a studio, guys. If you turn this way, my house is a complete disaster.
Oh, it looks good to me.
But it's just, I want people to understand that you're able to really transfer and do your dream as long as you're feeling completed on the other side. When your kids, someone's there to help pick up the slack. Otherwise, I had a lot of mom guilt when I first started. I was full-time bedside, then I went to part-time, but part-time bedside still means my day off was basically me resting, and then it was my kids. Now I'm able to do a little bit more boundaries with these are time blocks and I'm with my kids, and then that's
so you have more flexibility now as an entrepreneur to set it to be.
It's even more. I feel like I have more time given back to me. I'm not structured of knowing like I used to go to work. I don't remember my days anymore. But I remember a schedule I had was like Mondays and Wednesdays. I was at work from 2 to 10. And then every other weekend I was having to go to work. So all my weekend planning, everything was scheduled around the weekends that I'm off. So now I have my weekends free, and it's a blessing because it's been amazing. And so you're probably noticing too, where you're able to actually have more time with your kids.
Yeah, for sure. When you have other support people, husband or other people, it helps you have that time where you can be totally on and feel like your family's in good hands, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just like with a full-time job, having that outside support as well. But you have more time flexibility for sure.
Yeah. How do you feel that's helped you with your entrepreneurship, though, having the support? Do you think you'd be where you are without that type of support?
Oh, 100% not, because my husband has been from day one, and even becoming a coach. He was like, why don't you look into what's involved there before you put yourself out there? But he's been my number one support person with it. It's not just the physical support, it's the emotional. I believe in you. We're speaking our declarations now to each other, and that community of support, and we're on the same page. I was talking with another coach this morning about that unity of that synergy of being on the same page and supporting each other is emotionally beneficial. Having that person rooting for you, and but above and beyond an outside coach, having a loved one there that you can talk to, and you know that they have your back is great.
How did you feel when you left being like fully left from law side into becoming a full-time coach? How did that feel for you?
So leaving from being a full-time lawyer to full-time coach.
How's it different? But how was the transition? Was it like, do you feel like you've missed being back in law? Because sometimes like I miss being back at bedside.
Yeah.
But the transition, I am where I need to be right now in my life, and I love it.
I had a big interim gap where I was home working very part-time, homeschooling and other things. So it wasn't like a stark transition. At times, even though I often coach attorneys, there's parts of it that I miss, like the intellectual or just having more of a structured day that's structured for you. But there's just, as an entrepreneur, as a coach, there's much more creative space to really create what's coming from within me, not the particular clients that the firm has. I believe that as an entrepreneur that you get to play with, that you don't as an attorney. That's what I love about it. Like, I'm just dreaming up things right now. I don't really get to do that so much as an attorney.
What's your biggest dream right now?
My dream right now is to bring leaders to Hawaii. And yeah.
I want to go to Hawaii.
Yeah. To do leadership coaching and training and emotional intelligence, bringing them home to themselves and relating to themselves at a deeper level. Bringing leadership commitments. I'm a big fan of the collaborative way into companies, and having that transform the whole culture. And then people bring that into their personal lives, into their own relationships at home. So I see that multiple way of impacting people with organizational leaders who are into personal development and can see the value of investing time and money into building their team, and they care about the team members' holistic well-being as well. Like they care about their individual success. So yeah, thank you.
How did you develop your niche? Because this seems very specific and you know exactly what you're doing. Whereas like some people coming out are going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have a dream.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I know exactly what I'm doing, because I feel like I'm getting into that more. Starting out as a coach, I focused on women with autoimmune challenges, got off that pretty quickly. And because attorney is my former professional background, that seemed like a natural, and I still serve a lot of attorneys. But I'd say it's really getting in touch with, so you're saying, how did I discover my niche, or how did I decide who do you want to be around the most? Who do you want to serve? And then the impact you want to have. And so getting into conversation with those people that you think that might be, and then really seeing what are their challenges, what are their pain points, and then creating something tailored to them, right? That's who would I love to be with. But then there's also the piece of what are their needs, and then bring those together, and then voila. I got an ideal client. So I'm in the process of that still. I don't know that any entrepreneur actually stops being on that process, because some people are just like dead on, this is what I'm going to do. But oftentimes I find other coaches and entrepreneurs, they want to mix it up and branch out. And as we evolve as coaches, we coach different people because our own development changes as well.
Yeah. And it does change over time. I went from only wanting to serve the special needs community to now going into corporate, which I'm still developing a lot more into special needs and doing things, to now helping other nurse coaches get into large organizations. It's really beautiful to hear that other people are also just navigating their own path. So it's very fluid. Messy. A lot of people are like, oh, I need a niche and I need to know it now. You need clarity. I always tell people you need clarity. And the minute you have clarity with what you want to do, the clients are going to come. There's a billion people in the world, people. Like, there's so
no
many
shortage of people
in
to
there.
serve.
There's no shortage. And good.
No, but that's something I'm getting more clear on myself too, because I had this niche of managing partners at law firms for much of this
Mhm.
year because I've done some work with a law firm and wanted to replicate that. And it hasn't been as easy as I thought it would be. I've learned a lot and I can take a lot of what I've learned and transplant it to a new kind of niche or ideal
Mhm.
client. So I think there's just trial and error too that's involved here and seeing that's part of the journey as an entrepreneur. You don't need to have all your ducks in a row before you take action. But as you said, clarity is even 3 years into this game. That's what I'm based on the people I've coached and where I want to go. It's okay. Now, who is that ideal client? And I'm leaning more into these leaders, female leaders of organizations that want to transform their team and grow in their own personal relationship because they value their family. And that's the most important thing to them.
And that's good to hear that people that, and you guys, if whoever's listening to this, these people who I'm interviewing that comes on have been doing this for years. I've had people who've been coaching from 0 days to some that's been coaching for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Depending
Yeah.
on the population that I'm serving.
Yeah.
And it's always in the sense of everyone's always said, you got to adapt with the time. You're doing things like your niche might be, your vision might be the same, but how
Mhm.
you get there might be like a little bit of a roadmap, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And turns and left turns and comes in, like
Oh,
it's
no,
not just a straight shot.
definitely
And
not.
I want people to understand this. It's like when I say that, sometimes people are like, no, you went from 0 to 60 and became super successful in 18 months, but it's not always the case. And even with
Yeah.
me, I have my own struggles.
Yeah, you are pretty darn bold, though. I would say you're above just getting out there. It's partly your personality, but also coming from a fast-paced career in the emergency room. You can be an entrepreneur and go slower. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're very much like, put yourself out there, make bold asks, and that will get you farther faster because you're going to have failure more often, more
Yeah,
quickly. Like that didn't
right.
work, that didn't work, that didn't work.
That's just honestly from my ER background. People's lives are going to die.
That's a good point.
So people always ask me this, you're so bold, you're so this. I've spoken to so many people in their worst moment in time. And I had to walk into this room. Hi, I'm going to be your nurse today. We're walking in straight, guns flying, right?
Yeah.
With what's going on, comes in, and then turning around to this fully distraught family.
That's true.
And trying to explain to them, like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what's going to happen in nursing, especially in trauma bedside ER nursing, right? Like, I think that's like the biggest thing is just that I've always been in action because even yesterday, me and you had a conversation where I stopped because I saw a very almost fatal accident. Whereas for me, I turn around. I made my husband turn around. I'm like, no, I want to go check because it's that I want to make sure they're okay. And I think that's like the biggest reason why in entrepreneurship, when you're coming from that place of service, what some people may have thought being selfish, or I need to get home because I have a client, or my husband had a big meeting actually. But yet I decided, and my husband supported me on this, saying, I need to go just make sure they're okay because it's a service I wanted to provide.
And you get the service plus the bold action, immediate action. You get those together, and it's a power force to be reckoned with. The service and that's
but
Bina.
but that's the big thing about entrepreneurship. It goes back to the service.
Yeah, for sure. It's all like the more you focus on what they need versus what lights me up because you got to love what you do. That's the beauty of the entrepreneur path, though. You get to create that. And I feel like more than any other career path, it forces you to really get connected to that. There's challenges being an entrepreneur. You don't have like your boss just like breathing over your shoulder and telling you what to do, or even if you have a boss, it's given to you. You don't need to get as connected to what is important to me. There's that connection to your purpose and what you want to create, and then really connected to what your ideal client's challenges and needs are. But yeah, I didn't see that connection before with the ER and the like people your lives are at stake, literally. If you wait and twiddle your thumbs and just, oh, I don't know what I want to do here, it's not going to work. So you already have that being within you. So like transfer that into your entrepreneur space and boom, you're all over the place.
Because it's just the bold actions, right? And a lot of people feel like you need to have a game plan. So if we go back to algorithms with protocols and stuff in the ER, it's like you have a roadmap of what you're going to do. If this scenario happens, then this goes. If this happens, do this, right? But some of the times, exactly what you're doing because it becomes muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
But the first time you're going through that algorithm, it's very challenging.
Sure.
And that's the number one thing I've learned with entrepreneurship is uncomfortable situations, just a lot of uncomfortable situations, whether it was something dying or comes in or an uncomfortable conversation. Yeah, like in the ER, someone's in the passing or just like random stuff, right? With our familiar faces, people, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like that learning that communication, I think, is the key. It's learning how to navigate an uncomfortable conversation and still being fully present. And I know a lot of what we're doing, a lot of it is about the deep listening, right? The deep listening, being center focused, being with acknowledgement of where they are and being present where they are. And that comes, some people are like, how do you just develop it? And I think it's something, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you've been in this movement longer than I have. It's practice. You got to practice this every day.
Continual practice. Like I mentioned, the collaborative way, it's a continual practice. No one's ever a master at this. And just like our commitments, we recommit every day, and just everything is a relearning, and it gets easier, right? It's easier in many ways, but it's also, there's always deeper layers of understanding and new situations meeting that way of being that you got to navigate. But yeah, I think the algorithm of what you describe in the hospital is an interesting metaphor for your conversations with clients. You're putting yourself in new situations all the time too.
And these are new for me. I walked in yesterday into a conversation with this insurance company, and they're a broker. I don't know what they really do, so I can't really tell you that. But I walked in there and they're like, oh, we want to do some sort of collaboration with you. And I'm like, great. So I walked in there, I met them at this other random meetup place. And then they're like, so we're going to do this health fair. And I was like, okay. And I just stood back because they just started talking about all these different companies. We're going to bring these people in. And I was like, okay. I'm like, what did you guys want me to do? They go, oh, we want you to present. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like,
now you tell me.
Now you're okay, we're going with this. And then at the very end, they're like, oh, this is going to turn into a Livermore Chamber of Commerce mixer. So now the whole Chamber of Commerce is going to be involved. They go, yeah, I know the director. We'll get her involved. We'll call. And I'm just like, are you okay with this? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I have no idea what I said yes to. And I know, but I'll do it. I'm going to figure this out. My husband's like, so what exactly? I was like, I think I just said yes to a really big mixer. That's a health fair. That's all like health and wellness now being incorporated. And here I am now going to be having a presentation. And he goes, so that I was like, no,
I love it.
No idea.
We'll get clarity as we go along, right?
Exactly. And he's like, so would you, I was like, I have no idea. I don't know what I said yes to, but they seem like they had it in control.
They know
and
what they're
clarity doing. And the clarity, and like you're saying, it's going to come over time, right?
Yeah, sure.
And there were, you just got to run with it sometimes.
Yeah, but I think because you're even saying yes, that as though like you're coming from a being of, I'm putting myself out there more and more and finding new ways and people to bring my message in front of. I don't need to know exactly who's there, but it seems like an organization that's going to have a lot of people, and this is the area of that I'm serving. So don't need to know all the details.
Like when we're going into leadership trainings or for comes in, people have to remember, you don't know who you're running into at the grocery store. You don't know who you're running into like at Costco, or I've met clients and stuff even at Costco. Clients I've created who were at Costco.
You met him at Costco.
Because we were talking about clothing, and I think I had a conversation with somebody. I'm like, dude, Costco's the best because if it breaks, if it rips, if it comes in, we can return it back and you can get another one. But not like that we can't afford it. And so we started having a conversation about this. And she ended up being someone with this, like an HR business owner.
Okay.
And then we started talking about what I did with my kids, and I'm meeting with them in 2 weeks. So let's connect. Never met her before. Just started a conversation because of our kids at Costco.
Not because you were giving a presentation on.
No, it's just, this one is, it's just people ask a lot of the times, how do you create clients? How do you
for sure.
bond?
Giving a great example.
You just never know what's going to happen. And I tell people, if you don't share what you're doing, no one's really going to know.
You got to speak it and share it. Then when you're out in the world, you can speak to it with clarity. She might have known someone else with a child with special needs.
Exactly.
But you also probably asked her like, hey, did she ask you for a follow-up conversation or did you ask her?
We were talking about zippers. And
Okay.
no offense, like only people who are talking about zippers are parents with special needs. Both of us were zipper
Like
mode
the zipper
testing.
durability strains.
And then I was just like, one zipper was really tricky. Like, this is not going to work. And then she was just like, that's not going to work for me either. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. What do you mean by how? I was like, yeah, my kid, this is just not going to work for my child. Rohan, I need something. And then that's how it triggered it. She goes, do you have a child with special needs? I was like, oh yeah, Rohan's he's mild, moderate, autistic, globally delayed. I have to check every zipper, make sure there's no extra buttons. That's how the conversation started.
Yeah, a point of connection.
Next thing I know, we were sitting there for about 20, 30 minutes. And then I looked at the clock and I was like, I really got to go. And then we exchanged numbers. I actually just sent her a text message. I was like, here's my number, text me. And then now we're going to be having a conversation, a deeper dive conversation in 2 to 3 weeks. Just I told her like right before Christmas because she was traveling. It just happened that she also has a child with special needs. She's also a business owner.
Who knows? What could emerge? I'm just going to connect and see what emerges from that conversation.
Have you ever had situations like that where people are just connecting with you on the fly?
Yeah, I'd say so. I've been doing that more actually on the fly. I'd say not. Sometimes I don't get out a ton, but that's my part of my goal is to get out more out of the house. But like recently I've had a challenge where I share my offer with 5 different people per day. I've been in the neighborhood taking walks and having conversations. It's giving me a reason also to be a little more like just engaging with people, slowing down to engage with people, because I think you're particularly, I meet people, but until I have more clarity and can speak about it more, sometimes you don't necessarily have like specific thing to share of an offer. But yeah, for me, it's been more like just speaking to random people. I wouldn't share as much because it's like a reason to get into conversation. And normally I'll mingle with people, but I don't see the world as like potential people to serve all the time. It's just given me an opportunity to learn more about people, to share what I'm up to, and then learn about what they're up to as well. Sometimes it can be helpful to have a kind of a challenge to mingle with people too. Whereas for you, maybe it comes a little more naturally. I'm just gonna.
Yes and no.
I mean, when you're looking at zippers, right? Like you meet the person that happens to be like, that's great. But I'm not necessarily like at Costco running into business leaders. But
this was just a fluke of a draw.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say, but it's something that even in you sharing that story, there's an opening to always see that people are like, there are business leaders everywhere. Literally, my daughter's concert last night for her recorder, sat next to a senior vice president dad and just started talking to him. But he doesn't seem to have a need for team collaboration in his company. I wouldn't say he was super interested, but a lot of it is just being bold enough to share what you're up to. Because I've typically come from, I'm going to do it on the internet, on LinkedIn or whatever, this and that. Right. And I just think the more you can see that those opportunities are out there when you're at your child's music concert or at the grocery store or Costco, the more opportunities you have to meet potential clients and people you can serve your work. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing you also say is just you're also now starting to get out of your comfort zone, starting to do more self-awareness out in the public.
The clarity is important, but then just being out there doing presentations, providing a workshop in person, like to a group of entrepreneurs, getting more uncomfortable being in person and sharing a message and sharing value is something that I get tired of being home all the time. So I like to just go for a walk. What?
It's really easy for us entrepreneurs to be stuck behind a computer.
I started my coaching journey during COVID. People are out walking during COVID, but you a lot of times have masks on. It's like a little more social distancing. So now the pandemic's not been on high alert for many months, but it's a way of being more open to people and being open to what emerges in person out there. When we're on walks, when we're at the grocery store, whatever, that for me is fun. Like I just feel more engaged in the community. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Consciously putting myself in front of a group of people to add value and the spontaneous conversations that emerge.
It's beautiful when people say that. People forget like we can hide behind a computer so easily. And number one thing, when I coach around people, especially with like business coaching or whatever I do, it's getting them out into the community and rebuilding, because sometimes COVID has secluded us. So like it secluded us a lot, right? Yeah. A lot of us, we were home a lot. We didn't have much to do, depending on what it was. But now that you're right, that it's coming down, it's not as prevalent. The statistics are coming down. Being comfortable to going back out into things. Like, I don't like large crowds. I actually really don't like them. I'm still uncomfortable in it. I still am cautious and comes in, but it's also forcing myself to be like, okay, let me go back into these larger crowds again. Let me go back into being able to go into a room where I don't know people, because those are things that I have to do, even for myself, what I'd have to do again.
Relearn that.
I have to. It can't come natural because I've done it for 18 years when back at bedside, but it's still difficult for people to do that even now. Who you're going to meet, where we're going to be, is this safe? Like, all these other questions pop up all the time.
Bedside, I guess you're not in a large crowd necessarily, but just even being out there. Hawaii, obviously I have a great love of being outside. I just feel lit up when I'm in beautiful, even outside in the desert here in our community in Anthem, there's just beautiful hills and agave plants. So it rejuvenates me to just be outside a little bit more, and I get to talk to people too.
Yeah. And that's the big one, is going back to those connections of just talking to people, seeing what they want, just having a conversation.
Just to start to learn about someone, see what's going on in there, get interested. The key is to get interested in other people, and be in touch with what you want to create as an entrepreneur, and then meet the two together. And there you go.
So if you had to give one advice to newly entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, what would be the one biggest advice you can give them?
I think part of it is what we've discussed already, is getting clear on, for a new coach, I wouldn't say necessarily it's, speaking of coaches, because I'm not thinking of all kinds of entrepreneurs cover like
we're specifically,
because coaching, most of these people watching are interested in coaching. I started my journey not having a niche, and the program that I joined, John Strasser's Insight Coaching, really encourages you to just get out and serve humans, right? Don't be so tied to a niche. You need to have that figured out. Let the niche come to you. I think that's really beneficial initially, just to get out coaching and not be focused so much on marketing. And I think it's great to start navigating like what's the type of person that I most love to serve. That clarity piece, I would say, is one that can be, at some point, I think, as you're serving, it can be helpful to have clarity on that ideal client. And then the other piece is just get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right? Making big requests, doing things before you're ready. There's the coaching piece of just getting in the practice on not being so tied. Is this my ideal client or not? But then as you get more clarity and as you want to grow your business, it's going to require you to up level your being if you want to get to that next level. So going back to being, as the group that we're part of, it's so important to see yourself at that next level first and take action before you think you're ready. As you do that talk that you don't even know what you're doing with that insurance company or whatever it is, they're doing a health fair, whatever that is, like, you get more familiar with flying by the seat of your pants. Just like, I can do this. I can show up powerfully. That's what I see in you, that immediate action. And I serve HR organizations with their employees. And I know you do a few different things too. But I'd say in every area, the more comfortable you are with making bold requests, you're going to get so much further.
And some people are not comfortable with that. And that's okay too. You have to find out what's bold for you. And what's bold for some people might be as putting a Facebook group up. That might be bold for some people. Everyone has their own boldness.
You mentioned Facebook group. That's one of the first things I did as an entrepreneur. But if I were to do that now, it'd also still be scary because I'm in a different place. It's like a new niche, a new ideal client. So it's not even like the thing, but there's so many different factors, and just because someone else did it at this point in their journey doesn't mean that it should be easier for you than it was. Drop the comparison. That's so big, because that's big. That imposter syndrome comes up for people at every level of being a professional, whether you're a nurse, an attorney, or an entrepreneur. Drop the comparison. Whenever it comes up, drop it. It's a discipline, because for many of us who are high achieving people, it's easy to judge ourselves.
That is probably one of the biggest things I've learned in my journey is there's no comparison. Like,
I love that about you. Yeah.
I can't compare myself to somebody else. At the end of the day, the right time, the right place, the right circumstance. When those three align, things are where they're supposed to be. If one element is out of alignment, it's going to change once all those three components come in. I just feel like right now is my time.
Now's your time to shine.
Just your time to shine, time to do this, time to go, whatever it is. It's just, the timing is just feels right. The timing feels right for me. And it really goes back to just like going back to that conversation within yourself. If I'm going to do this, do I have the time? Do I have the place? Do I have the energy? Do we have the support? We're both moms that are entrepreneurs who are working and can get lost into the entrepreneurial world.
Speaking to mom entrepreneurs, like when I'm talking about bold ask and going after your vision, I think a lot of us moms, this came up for me with going to JP Morgan, Santa Monica. Can we have our dreams and be the kind of moms that we want to be? Can we hold them both? I think a lot of us have this underlying belief, if I really go after my dreams professionally as an entrepreneur in my business,
my mom life is going to come down.
I'm not going to be as good a mom. My family's going to suffer. We have that belief. It's like juxtaposing things that we think are impossible and holding them in the same plane. What if you could have both? And so I think that's what it certainly helps to have family members that support that. But even beyond that, what we want to create next, let go of that belief that you have to have one or the other.
You can have both. Look at us. We both have both right now. We're both beautiful, strong women as a mom, but we're both beautiful, strong women as business owners. And they complement each other.
I love that our careers actually help our family. Like the more as coaching, like the more we grow and grow our own emotional intelligence and presence to ourselves, it really helps our presence to our kids. I'm able to have conversations with my daughter, who's now 14, that I wouldn't 5 years ago, 6 years ago, of course, because she's older, but like my level of being able to be present to what's going on for her, in some way asking her thoughtful, curious questions helps me develop a connection and presence to her as my daughter. I love that our actual profession has other benefits. Like your ability to connect to your kids with special needs is so much heightened because of your own journey and your continual personal development and what you do as an entrepreneur and as a coach. And that's what I love about this profession, because it really, like, we're forced to grow as business owners, but also the work we do is connecting us more with ourselves and self-empathy and self-awareness and understanding, which has to benefit our family members. It can't not.
No, right? And it does, because I'm more grounded now than I've ever been in my life. And I'm more present now with my children's lives than I would have been maybe 5 years ago when I was at bedside, because I'd be short, I'd be hot, I'd be annoyed, I'd be like, what do you, like a little, like comes in, right? Because of the lack of sleep or whatever it is. Now that I'm doing something that I so passionately love, I'm working sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours. It doesn't feel like it anymore. And no matter what, like as soon as my kids come to the door, it's open hands. Like, Mom, what are we doing? My daughter had a conversation with me yesterday and everything stopped. How can we be present? And she's just, it's okay. Love you, Mom. Thanks. And my husband, what just happened? And it's just like that. It's that nurturing aspect that you are able to really do, because we practice it every day with our clients. We're practicing it every day with ourselves, which then actually makes us a better mom.
I love that.
Because we're so more calmer, or we're able to release the emotions behind it. Whereas for me, I'm able to not just react, because I can't react with a client. There's no way I can do that. I'd be fired.
So much. I almost don't even feel like I do sometimes feel a little bit with a family member now and then, right? I'm not going to act like I never get triggered at all, but it's so much dampened. Before it would really get in the way. And now I just love that our work actually helps us have those skills. So it's not only about quantity. That's what's coming up for me. It's not only about quantity time, but your quality of time, like your quality of presence with your family members. So if you're feeling angry and flustered, that's not you feeling your best and being your best for your family. Kudos. I love my journey being a stay-at-home mom, watching my kids learn and homeschool them. But so much better if I can have that time to grow in my own self-awareness so that I can be that model for them as they navigate their own emotional upheavals. I don't regret it. It's like, it was what it was, but now I'm really grateful, like for my youngest, especially, he's benefited the most, right? Because he's 6 and I started this journey around that time. He's the baby, and I guess he just gets like blessed to have that mama.
They
that
all
was
are
more
blessed,
emotionally-
but they comes in. But it changes. If there's moms out there planning to do any type of entrepreneurial journey and you feel oh my God, I won't be a good mom because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I want to challenge all you moms out there that you are able to have both. You are able to satisfy your passion along with being a mom.
Yeah.
It actually will challenge you in ways to really self-growth so you're more present with your children.
Yep.
And even if it's 20 minutes, if you're with your children for 20 minutes a day, sometimes I'm only with them for maybe 30 minutes, an hour during dinner time, and then I have to go upstairs for a meeting or something.
Sure.
But now my kids are just more present with me. They want to have conversations. Even though I was upstairs this whole time, they're responding better. And I've noticed in my house, kids are sleeping better. Things are more in routine because of the work that we're doing with our clients, with what we do is beneficial. So all the moms out there that are willing to, they say they can't do this, you can.
It might not happen immediately. What I'm gathering out of what you're saying is like the personal payoff ramifications for you will be amazing. And then your family gets to benefit from that as well. So
But
even if
it's a hard path,
that's fulfilling. And as you mentioned, just examples with my kids, I just feel like this calm and peace more than I didn't used to have. I have a tendency to want to control or fix people, including myself. So I've had to learn to let that go and see my kids and my husband as perfect as they are. And not that we don't have discussions about possibilities for acting differently, but there's a certain amount of just loving what is, right? And learning that for me as a coach has been really powerful with my family.
That's beautiful. Joan Claire, it is almost at the top of the hour.
Okay.
I feel like me and you can talk about children and momhood and entrepreneurship and business leadership for hours and hours.
Yeah, we can. I did get in trouble yesterday.
It was fun and I loved it. That's one thing I love about these conversations is that the number one reason why I ended up having these entrepreneurial talks is to really people to understand that these are just real talks. Like these are not, I don't have a script. She didn't know what I was going to talk about. We don't have a plan. And that is where the most success generally occurs is when you show up. So I appreciate you showing up, being you, trusting the process.
Oh, for sure. I'd talk with you anytime we go. I wish you lived closer. And I loved seeing your Bernedoodle yesterday too. I've been thinking
he's not here right now. He's
so loving.
He's usually on all my lives, but today he didn't bug me. He's like 100-pound dog, but you got to step down. But we'll be seeing each other in
January. And I got to meet you this year in person at Dave's.
In January of last year too.
Has it been a whole year since that happened?
Maybe later. Well, it has to have been later because we were in Mumbai in January, February.
I think it was more like late spring.
It was warm, but not too hot. All my months are blurring together. So I would fail. If I were to go to the year and someone asked me what day it is, I would totally fail. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what year it is.
You're not fit to practice nursing.
Because all of November just disappeared.
Here we are, December.
And now we're December. And then next year's going to be right around the corner. Thanks for being here. Thanks for saying yes to not knowing what you're saying yes to. So I appreciate that.
We're being what we're talking
bold
about.
Actions. Yeah, being bold actions. See you guys all later. Have a good one.
Weekend. Bye.
Bye.